So we're going to talk about social media, and the plastics industry is on the forefront of e-marketing, right? But they should be. There's no reason that they shouldn't be. So that's kind of what I'm going to go over. So who am I, and how the heck do I know what I'm talking about? I'm Pam Monk. I'm the e-commerce manager for ENT Plastics. Prior to that, I was the e-commerce manager for DIYcontrols.com. I've been creating websites for 14 years, participating in social media for 7 years. I have an MBA in marketing and a whole bunch of tech geek certificates, certified tech geek. So, if you haven't heard, social media is kind of a hot topic lately, and is supposedly changing the rules of marketing. But to convince you just how popular it is, 9 out of 10 internet users visited a social networking site each month in 2010. So not just at one point during the year, but regularly, each month. 9 out of 10 people on the internet visited a social networking site. And 2010, that's like ancient history as far as the internet is concerned. So that's all these statistics are probably even more so now. This one's fairly recent. As of June 2011, 1 out of every 6 minutes online is spent on Facebook. And just a year prior to that statistic being published, it was 1 out of every 8 minutes. So that is increasing very rapidly, and will likely continue to increase. So Twitter has 100 million active users, not just people that created a Twitter profile and forgot about it, but 100 million people actively using it. And 230 million tweets per day are sent out. That was as of September 2011. Users spend 3 times the amount of time on blogs and social sites than they do on email. Email marketing, email newsletters used to be, it still is to a degree in certain ways, the best way to reach customers, but they're spending a lot less time on email now. They're spending a lot more time reading blogs and on social media sites. Companies that blog get 55% more website visitors and 67% more leads per month than companies who do not. And that's another ancient history statistic for 2010. So that's probably gone up since then as well. And companies that use Twitter average 2 times more leads per month than those who do not. And the source for some of those statistics is a company called HubSpot. They provide inbound marketing services, and they they use inbound marketing to draw in their leads, and they publish things like this, statistics, white papers, ebooks, constantly publishing this information that people just eat it up. And I almost get annoyed at it. Every time I see an email, I get a ton of email. Every time I see a new email from HubSpot, it says, new ebook with the latest statistics. I'm like, oh, I got to stop what I'm doing and read it. I don't even want to, but it sucks me right in. And so that's how I learn a lot of what I know about this stuff. And although I've never used their service myself, they are top of mind when someone says to me, what kind of agency can I go to? Who should I go to get this kind of new marketing done for me? HubSpot. First one that comes to mind. So that's kind of the goal in using what is now being called inbound marketing, because the internet has turned what used to be a controlled one-way marketing message that went out. It's changed things so that it's a real-time back-and-forth dialogue with millions of people at a time. So the new tactic is to pull people in through that rather than push messages out. So inbound marketing, technically what is it? It's the practice of bringing warm, qualified leads into your sales funnel as opposed to reaching out to questionable cold targets. It's often also referred to as relationship marketing or attraction marketing. That's the gist of it. What do the differences look like? Outbound marketing, the traditional telemarketing, trade shows, you just pushing messages out, direct mail, email blasts, TV, radio, print ads, just putting information out there. Inbound marketing is blogging, SEO, search engine optimization of websites, videos, social media, webinars, white papers, ebooks, and guides, and it's all digital. It's all online. Because that's where your prospects are. They're online, and that's where they're doing their research. So that's the idea behind inbound marketing. And it just so happens to cost less in addition to being effective. It costs a lot more to try to convince somebody that they might need your product than to cater to those that already think they do might not. So how do you pull them in instead of push your information out? And that consists of publishing information, spreading it around, and then conversing. And what do you want to publish? You want to publish educational, informational, basically genuinely useful information, whatever they're actually going to need to know, and in the form of blog posts. Blogging is an easy way to establish yourself as a thought leader in the industry. There's a guy who has a sheet metal fabrication blog. And you think, like, who the heck wants to read a blog about sheet metal fabrication? But a quarter of his business is coming to him through that blog. So apparently there are people, and mostly where that ties into SEO, search engine optimization, is that when people are typing in unique phrases or unique questions that have to do with sheet metal fabrication, his blog is what pops up. And I assume he's probably using social too, and so not only his blog pops up, his Facebook page pops up, his this pops up. He's just everywhere. It's clear he's the information authority on sheet metal fabrication. So it may be a niche, small group of people that are looking for it, but the ones that look for it find him and trust that he knows what he's talking about. And blogging is a pretty easy way to make yourself look like a real authority on information in the industry. Other things, how-to tutorials, white papers, ebook videos. A lot of this stuff gets you next. So where do you get the ideas? You know, the left say, I don't have time to make all this new stuff. And I agree, everyone's busier than ever. We don't have time to do whole brand new routines. But if you think about how you can translate what you're already doing into digital media. For example, customer questions. I mean, you're answering customer questions throughout the day. Sometimes you answer the same questions over and over and over again. Frequently asked questions are a great basis for a blog post. And just type it up, throw it up. That's great content right there. Record what you're already doing. That's why Tom is here today. I was going to be giving this presentation anyway. So I'm recording it, and I can not only put snippets of the video on YouTube, I can transcribe it into a blog post and share bits and pieces and mix up with it. I can, turn it into an ebook of certain parts of the transcription. Basically I'm just trying to capture what I'm already doing. Summarizing the latest industry news or curating content is an easy way to come up with ideas too. Top 5 news happenings in the industry over the past week or month. Or there's the review and industry publication. So a 30-page report comes out in this new material. It's a great report. I think your prospects would be interested in it, but they're busy. So if you were able to summarize that 30-page report in a 2-page blog post, they're much more likely to read your 2-page blog post and appreciate that you did that than to read the 30-page report. Lists. People love lists. So whatever idea you come up with, if you just turn it into a list, people will be 10 times more likely to read it. I don't know why that is. There's something about the human psyche that sees like top 10 ways to da-da-da and they can't resist clicking on it.
Yeah, look what David Letterman has done for Twitter.
So there you go.
Past month, right?
Yeah. So it works. It's just people love lists. So whatever idea you have, try to turn it into a list. Top 10 tips for this. Top 10 ways to do that. Top 3 things to consider when deciding blah, blah, blah. Just turn anything into a list, and you've got a great blog post. So interviewing someone, I'll get to that more later, too. That's a great way to come up with content. Repurposing old content. You've probably done case studies in the past, or customer, highlighted an application, or even newsletter content. If it's not completely outdated, you can freshen it up a bit and throw it up online. And then you can even repurpose new content, like I was saying. So you made a new white paper. Well, split it up into a series of 5 different blog posts, or summarize it down to a little less technical and make an ebook. So you can really repurpose both your new and old content. And then you have this great, genuinely useful content, and you want it to get found. So social helps spread your content around, helps it get found by those warm prospects. And if you have a social presence, it gives the impression that you're ready, willing, and waiting to answer their questions. So they've done their Googling, they see you pop up all over the place, your blog posts and your social posts about the topic, and then they stumble upon your social profile, they see that you're actively on it. They're like, okay, this person's ready, this company's ready to answer my questions. And the spreading helps improve the SEO of your website. This is getting a little more technical here, but basically 75% of the factors that go into whether Google decides to put your website in their search engine rankings, in their listings, have to do with how many people link to your website. they take those links as votes of confidence. They also take social signals as votes of confidence. SEO is becoming more social than ever, just especially with last week's announcement where Google said that they're just going to straight up put posts from their own social network in the search engine results page. So if you had a blog article that was shared on Google+, the social network, even if you shared it yourself, that signal just makes it so much more likely to be found in the Google search engine results. So social is more important than ever, and they do take into account social signals from how many times an article was retweeted or how many times it was liked on Facebook, shared on Facebook. So it makes it even easier for that warm prospect who already thinks he wants your products to find you. The converse part of things, the analogy that I use to explain social media for B2B specifically is that it's like a trade show, like a giant virtual trade show. So LinkedIn is your giant show floor. There's people walking around asking technical questions, and basically what you're doing by participating, and I should clarify, a lot of people say, LinkedIn is for job hunting, and it is, can be used that way, but the meat and potatoes in LinkedIn is in the groups and the answers sections. There are a lot of, people just blatantly pushing their own products in there, but if you find the diamonds in a rough, there's people asking real questions. There's people I've seen in the PE LinkedIn group, there's people asking technical questions about compounds, and I don't understand it, but they're in there, and some of you would understand it, and if you were there to answer their questions, they would be very appreciative of that. So it's like they're walking up to your booth, so man your booth and answer your questions. And you could point them to those genuinely useful articles that you published and further establish yourself as a thought leader in your topic.
What is LinkedIn? I'm a real deal.
I should go back a second. LinkedIn is the most business-oriented social network of them all, which is what I kind of compare it to the trade show floor. A lot of people use it as an online resume, and they link up and they connect with people that they might be able to give them a job or something. But it can also be used to, just maintain existing business connections. But like I said, I think the real opportunity in it is in the groups where people are talking very technical business topics. They're asking questions and looking for help on what they're doing in their job. So that's
Is that pay per click?
No. All four of these, the big four, actually the big five, I should say, include YouTube. There's no cost other than your time to participate. So Google Plus is, like I said, they announced they're just going to mix in their social networks posts in with search engine results. So it's an easy way to get found. It's kind of like, a trade show sponsorship. You're going to get your name out there quite easily. Facebook is like your brochures. Facebook is referred to as a picture economy. People love pictures on Facebook. They like to see stuff visually there. So that can be like your brochures. It's a place to show off visually your products or your company in action or things like that. And Twitter is the cocktail party after the show. Twitter is the one with the least relevant conversations going on. There may be people shooting the breeze about the weather or talking about their kids or what they did over the weekend. And a lot of people say, oh, well, what's the business value in that? I don't need to know what you had for lunch. But it does work. And it's exactly what you do at a cocktail party after the show. You just get to know people. And I've had leads come in for EMC Plastics through people that I talk to on Twitter. And even if it's not that particular person I was talking to that needs something, if somebody mentions to them that they needed plastic for something, you're like, oh, call EMT. I was just tweeting with them the other day. They're nice people. And that's happened for us. So that's the more conversational, getting to know people part of things. But, I'm sure you've all gotten business referrals from word of mouth, and word of mouth is very powerful and it works, and it's just happening in a different venue now. So, this publishing, threading, and conversing is guiding them into your sales funnel. The sales funnel is research, consider, and then buy. That's still the case. But in what I call the social funnel, the research is being done online, so your content, your blog posts, your white papers, your whatnot, popping up in search engines is what's guiding them into during their research phase. Because what happens a lot of times is, somebody's tasked with making a decision on something or researching something that is not their subject, that it's not their area of expertise. They are not the subject matter expert on it. So where's the first place they go? Google. Find out what they need to find out. So if you just keep popping up all over the place during their research with all your social activity, your blog posts, your white papers and webinars, they're going to consider you a trusted advisor on the topic. And in the consider phase, traditionally they might have picked up the phone at that point and asked you some questions about your product or service. Now people are more apt to do that on social. And as the workforce of purchasing agents gets younger and younger, the amount of time spent online in that funnel, because it's still, in B2B situations, it still comes offline at the end for the sale usually. But the amount of time spent in the funnel during the decision-making process there's going to be more online time in there as time goes on. So, now if you're a manufacturer, if you're in some capacity where you don't deal with the end users, you may think, that social doesn't really have a place for you, but you can help your distributors. Traditionally manufacturers make sales collateral for distributors to give out. They make brochures and technical sheets and they assist the distributor in selling the product. So the same thing can happen here. They can assist in writing blog articles or hosting webinars or writing ebooks and provide that content to the distributors to help guide the people down the sales funnel. Or they can have their own social, the manufacturer can have their own social presence, have their own content they're producing, draw the leads in themselves, and then pass the lead off at, pre-screen and pass off to the distributor when the appropriate time to do so. So even if you don't deal with end users directly, social can still help do what you've already done, basically, is help your distributors get the sale. So the differences specifically in business-to-business and business-to-consumer social media is, some people argue that although it doesn't seem suited for business-to-business, they think, it's easy a lot of people are going to like Nike and their favorite brands, their favorite business-to-consumer brands online, and that's true. It's a little bit easier for them in that way. But because business-to-business selling and long, complex sales cycles have more to do with relationship building, I would subscribe to that some people say that social media is more well-suited for B2B than B2C, because B2C is broadcasting to a very large audience. They're speaking to the masses. And because of that, they can only develop limited personalities online. Like Southwest Airlines is fun and Old Spice is macho, but that's about as far as they can go. And if you were to ask a question of a big brand through social media, if you're lucky enough to get an answer, you'll get a short one-sentence exchange, and that'll be it. So for companies that need to build relationships with people, if you're using social media, you're speaking to a small group of decision makers, perhaps even one person who's the decision maker, and that gives you the opportunity to develop more of a personality, or to let more personality show. You may even have your individual salespeople with their individual pictures on their social profiles, just communicating virtually, because people still expect, when they're doing the research, to be able to find a sales rep who's going to help them. And so you can take those personas, or even if you have multiple people managing your social media and your sales force, even just little things like putting their name at the end. If you're on Facebook sometimes and a brand answers your question, you don't know who you're talking to, but you can do little things to personalize it further and just, add a name so they know who they're talking to, they know who their sales rep is that's helping them. But the key thing is, the length of the interactions is longer and ongoing, but that's where the opportunity to build a relationship is. And so if, it's a person who prefers to do their research online, you can start that relationship building much earlier. You don't have to wait for them to pick up the phone and call you. And you can start to give them a good impression before they even pick up the phone and call you. So is it working? And who's doing this? Again, I think these are 2010 statistics, but 76% of businesses are using social networking for business objectives. 72% are closing business through it, 45% are finding new partnerships through it, which I'll talk about in a minute too, and 65% are finding improved search engine rankings. So it does work. So how do you get started? And how do you succeed? As with any other marketing plan, you want to define your objectives, design a plan, choose your tactics, and just pause for a minute here. When getting started, it's better not to be in all places just for the sake of being in all places. It's better to be in one or two and do them well than to just be everywhere for the sake of being everywhere. If you create a Twitter account and never touch it again, it can give a worse impression than if you don't have one at all. So, baby steps at first. And implement your plan, measure your results, revise, repeat. And as far as how to succeed, I thought it'd be more fun to talk about how to fail. The top 3 ways to fail in business-to-business social media is to push out the same old sales info. People are so trained to tune out marketing messages, especially online. They don't want to hear it. As the quote says, people want to buy, but they don't want to be sold to. So they're there, they want you to answer their questions about your product, but they don't want you to try to sell your product to them. So, softer sell works better in social media. Number 2 way to fail in business-to-business social media is to act differently online than in person. For some reason, beyond me, people think it's okay to be totally obnoxious online. If you wouldn't, in real life, you wouldn't walk up to someone and say, hi, I'm Jim. Buy my product, buy my product, buy my product. You wouldn't do that. So people do that online. They go right in for the kill as soon as they make the connection online. And even just manners, too. Manners seem to go out the window. Pleases, thank yous. Remember, act as you would in person. And the number 3 way to fail at social media is to be inconsistent. Like I was saying before, it's better to not be in all places than to be there and abandon them. If you go to a company's blog, and the last blog article was from 2010 or even from 6 months ago, it kind of, to me, that gives the impression that you're going to ignore me the way you're ignoring your blog. You're not really interested in, being an information authority in the industry. So it's better to not be there and to do it inconsistently. So a lot of companies have fear of social media because of what I was saying before. It used to be controlled one-way marketing message, be controlled from the C-suite of what we're going to say and how we're going to say it, and to let go of some of that control and let your sales reps, speak online publicly about your company. It's a little scary for some people. And it's like, what if we make a mistake? Well, if you make a mistake, it's all in the way you respond that makes a difference. It can be an opportunity. It can be an opportunity to humanize your brand a little bit and to actually lend yourself to that relationship building by building a little bit of a personality and say, oops, we'll try to do better next time. That looks a heck of a lot better than, to try to cover it up or freak out or, I don't know if anybody saw the video going around online about the FedEx guy he had a computer monitor and he threw it over the gate and it broke and the guy was caught on video. And the way FedEx responded made all the difference. They said, that is absolutely not representative of the values of our company, and we have dealt with that employee, but we're also using this as an example to show our other employees the standards we want them to be held to. And they published their own video response to the internet on it, and it made all the difference. So, if you use the mistake as an opportunity, it can lend to your relationship building. So, back to the number 1 way to fail, sounding too salesy. So how do you avoid sounding too salesy? I mean, you're in business and you're doing this in order to make money, so how do you not sound like you're trying to sell your product? One of the things that makes that pretty easy to do is reciprocal promotion and strategic partnerships. So, you have customers, vendors, distributors, or trade associations, charities you work with. It's received a lot better to say, hey, look at what that guy over there is doing. That's pretty interesting. Than to say, hey, look at me, look at me, look at me. So, and then you can have them do the same for you, and it's just received a whole lot better. It makes it easy to keep that self-promotion to a minimum. It strengthens the existing partnerships between the vendors and the distributors. You're working a lot more closely with them. And it allows for the sharing of resources. It's a lot easier to come up with a blog article when you have 2 companies working on it, 2 sets of information resources, than it is with 1. So, reciprocal promotion actually works really good with prospects, too. Someone who considered buying something from you, or actually if you just like them to consider buying something from you and they haven't even indicated that they have, it's a lot more memorable than a cold call to call up and say, we heard about your new product, we really find it interesting, we'd like to write an article about it on our blog. That's the first step in building a relationship as opposed to a cold call. People love to feel special. There's nothing people like more than to have their ego patted, and ultimately you are in business, you're marketing to a business, but the people behind the business that you're dealing with. So it gets received really well, and it drives traffic to your website, which is great for SEO because once that article comes out, they're going to tell all their friends, hey, look at this article, someone wrote about us, and they're going to drive traffic and links to your website. It's a really great way to do a softer sell. So how do you measure your success? There's a big debate about the ROI of social media. Can it be measured? Can it not be measured? Is there a return? The stats before kind of, show that it is effective, but how do you measure how effective it is. Some people that consider social communications a tool, which I think it is, say you just can't measure the ROI of that. Like, what's the ROI of your telephone system? What's the ROI of your email server? You know, it's hard to measure those things. But some say that you can. There's a formula in this book, two recommended readings, which I'll talk about at the end, but Social Marketing to the Business Customer. This was co-authored by Eric Schwartzman, who did a talk at the Platinum Executive Forum. He has a formula in here, and it has to do with the lead, the value of the lead, and he calculates literally the ROI of social media. So, regardless of which camp you subscribe to, whether ROI can or can't be calculated on this, there are metrics specific to social media efforts that can and should be used to measure your efforts and your success. And some of those metrics are like the number of fans and followers that your profile has, how many people like you on Facebook, how many people follow you on Twitter. But the real important thing is that there's automated computer programs that can ramp up your likes and follows, and it really doesn't mean anything. What means something is your engagement level. How many people are commenting on your stuff, liking your stuff, retweeting it, resharing it, how much engagement and relationship building is going on your social profiles. Those are the kind of things that you really pay attention to. Monthly active users, again, how many people are paying attention to your page. Increases in website traffic from social sources, and of course, number of leads should all be measured. But you can use these metrics to define your objectives. You can say, we want to increase our follower base by 5% per quarter. We want to increase our social-driven website traffic by 10% per year. And then you can measure the success of your efforts to see if you're hitting your target line. Very actionable, measurable objective. So my recommended reading for further information on the topics, like I said, Social Marketing to the Business Customer by Eric Schwartzman and Paul Gillen is a good one. And the other one is Marketing Strategies for the Complex Sale. This is more about inbound overall versus social marketing, more about that publishing of useful content and things of that nature. There's one new B2B social media book that just came out that I don't really agree with the authors at all, so I would just stick to these two. That's it. I hope that made sense. If you didn't, feel free to ask questions now.